In this episode, we talk about the efforts to secure UNESCO World Heritage status for an archeological site in Chhattisgarh. We also discuss a recent government order in Rajasthan that asked schools to celebrate December 6, the anniversary of the Babri Masjid demolition, as Shaurya Diwas. But we begin today in Kolkata, which is witnessing a protest by hundreds of booth-level officers. Hi, I am Niharika Nanda, and you are listening to Three Things, the Indian Express news show. Across several states, the Election Commission's Special Intensive Revision of Electoral Rolls is now facing growing strain on the ground. Over the past week, this workload has become a major flashpoint. States have reported stress-related deaths among booth-level officers, and in West Bengal, where the revision is underway alongside 9 other states and 3 union territories, hundreds of BLOs protested outside the Chief Electoral Officer's office, saying the Election Commission's expectations are impossible to meet within the unrealistic deadlines.
SIR is a process which has been initiated by Election Commission of India.
This is the Indian Express's Sweety Kumari, who reported on this for the paper.
To basically purify the electoral rolls by removing duplicate, deceased and shifted voters. Shifted voters as in those who have changed their addresses. It is especially being done ahead of upcoming elections. Now, BLOs are at the heart of this process because they are the Election Commission's, I would say, foot soldiers on ground. Now, who are these BLOs? They are typically local government or school employees like teachers, Anganwadi workers, and they have been assigned to specific polling booth areas. Now, their duties require them to interact directly with every voter, making them the primary link between the Election Commission of India and citizen for this entire SIR process.
Now, the demonstration, led by the BLO Rights Protection Association, escalated after a meeting with senior election officials failed to address their concerns. So to break down what the BLOs are demanding and how the CEO's office is responding, my colleague Icha Sharma speaks to Sweety in this segment.
Sweety, could you start by telling us what these BLOs are alleging and what has prompted them to carry out these protests?
So the BLOs are already state government employees. They are teachers. So they have their job. They are already, attending schools. So when we are talking about the specific protest outside the CEO office, this BLO, especially under the banner of the BLO Adhikar Raksha Committee, organization which is backed by TMC, had been protesting outside the CEO office, primarily accusing that the workload is completely inhuman and they have been in excessive stress and excessive workload ever since the SIR process started. And also the BLOs who are protesting outside the CEO office claims that the deadline given by Election Commission of India to complete the task is unrealistic and unscientific. Now the protests were intensified following reports of, multiple BLOs deaths. We have been reading and reporting that there have been deaths where the families or, even in few cases, some of the deceased have also mentioned SIR process or excessive workload as one of the reasons of them committing suicide. And we spoke to some of the BLOs day before yesterday. They said that the stress from the SIR work was one of the major contributing factor that they're sitting on protest outside the CEO office and demanding that there should be an extension of the deadlines. And, they basically wanted the Election Commission of India to show some empathy after few deaths that they claim that were a fallout of excessive workload due to SIR process.
And Sweety, for those who may not know already, what specific tasks are BLOs being asked to complete?
They have been asked to complete the submission of enumeration form within a month. Like from November 4th, it started and the deadline is December 4th. So especially if we talk about the specific task that these BLOs have been given is basically the door-to-door enumeration. So under this, the BLOs are expected to physically visit every household to distribute partially or, blank form which has a QR code. And these enumeration forms are given to electorals in person, and then those forms are collected from the door itself. Also, their role includes a highly demanding task where BLOs are basically expected to physically search the old intensive revision roll like in 2002 and 2003 to trace electorals or their adult relative to establish their, relations to previous electoral roll and record that their old serial number are on the new form or not. If an electoral misses out on these important information, it is the responsibility of the BLO that they should fill up the mandatory required information by getting in touch with the electorate. Now, after this, their role also involves taking those thousands of completed enumeration forms and then digitizing the data by uploading it through the BLO mobile app or a portal. During the protest, the BLOs have reported issues with slow servers. They said that their connection, their network is really slow, and sometimes it is taking them 35 minutes to upload one single form. You may call it lack of training, or the removal of the edit option on the app significantly has increased the time and stress of their task.
Right. And so what is the current deadline for them to complete all these formalities?
So the deadline for completing enumeration and digitization is December 4, with the draft roll publication scheduled for December 9. Now, they have already said that this deadline is unscientific. Now, when I say so, Election Commission, recently there was a press conference by CEO Manoj Agarwal and additional CEO Arindam Neogi of State Chief Electoral Office, and where they, shared significant progress of this SIR process and cited example of some of the BLOs who completed their task, the entire task, within 15 days. So CEO office have agreed that there is excessive workload in some cases. They have complaints of slow server, but simultaneously they have also cited examples of BLOs who have completed the same task in 15 days.
And so given this condition, how have the CEO authorities responded to these protests?
So basically, CEO office have received some complaints from the BLO, and they have taken serious note of that. So if we talk about the recent death that they claim happened due to SIR process, CEO office have asked district magistrate or, police to submit post-mortem reports regarding the BLO's death to determine if they occurred on duty due to SIR stress. And the Manoj Agarwal, CEO, West Bengal, was also saying that it is taking time, but they will definitely consider if it is found that they died due to work pressure or it happened on duty. Now, the CEO office has held meetings with the telecom service providers also to address the slow server complaints and connectivity issue for the digitizing work, and has also stated that additional personnel or centralized Wi-Fi hubs are being provided to assist BLOs. In some cases where BLOs are complaining that they are not well, or despite being unwell, they are expected to go to people's house and continue with the SIR process. CEO recently cleared it that if EROs find any BLO not in a working condition, if somebody is not well enough, they can definitely change the BLO by keeping CEO office informed about it. The CEO office has also reassured punishment. The CEO recently clarified that no BLO would be punished for unintentional human error, only if there is an intentional delay, or if it is found that somebody is intentionally not trying to work or, create an obstruction in the SIR process. In that case, the Election Commission may take any action. But so far, since November 4th, the process has started and there has been no action against any BLOs.
Right, and Sweety, this dispute is also playing out alongside a separate disagreement over the EC's proposal to hire new data entry operators. And since, as you mentioned earlier, the BLO association leading the protests is backed by TMC, so how has the state government responded to these protests?
So, state government, in specific, Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee has publicly criticized the ECI, and since the very beginning, she has opposed the entire SIR process. And in her Twitter post and while addressing public, she has linked the BLO deaths to the unbearable work pressure from the SIR. She also wrote to the Chief Election Commissioner asking him to halt the SIR exercise and reassess the method and timelines. Now, the party has also raised concern about a separate disagreement regarding the ECI's proposal to hire new data entry operators, seeing it as something very unusual or alarming move that they have been opposing. So they have sought a meeting with ECI to discuss both the BLO workload. A couple of letters have been sent by Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee opposing SIR and raising questions on recruitment of outsourcing data entry operators.
And finally, Sweety, what can be expected for them? Could there be an extension of deadline?
No. As far as relaxation of deadline is concerned, I don't see there is any change in the immediate future. Because, if we talk about the progress of the work, now more than 99% enumeration form has already been submitted and a good percentage of number has been digitized. So whatever complaint they are getting from the BLO, they are addressing those complaints, but I don't see an extension of the deadline as of now. Now, the immediate next step that we see is like Election Commission may meet the delegation of state ruling party because they have a lot of grievances. So we may expect a meeting between the ruling party and the CEO office to discuss their grievances regarding the SIR workload or, staffing proposals. The BLO Adhikar Raksha Committee has, however, warned that if their demands like deadline extension or corrective steps are not met, they will launch a continuous protest. Now, the authorities are expected, I don't see an extension of deadline as of now, but the authorities are expected to follow through on providing, support such as setting up high-speed Wi-Fi hubs or investigating the death to try and ease the workload and stress on the BLOs. As we talk today, the BLO protest outside the CEO office still continuing. However, there was a good number of people who had sat outside the CEO cabin, on the third floor of the CEO office. So yesterday when the CEO agreed to meet them briefly and they submitted their memorandum, after that they withdrew the protest from the third floor. But there is good crowd outside the CEO office as we record the broadcast today.
And next, we shift our focus to Chhattisgarh, where earlier this month, the Archaeological Survey of India inspected an archaeological site in Sirpur, a village located in the central part of the state. The ASI, along with the Sirpur Special Area Development Authority, conducted the survey to determine whether the site could be considered for UNESCO World Heritage status. For those who may not know, Sirpur, also known as Sripura or Shripur, is a multi-religious urban centre that was first formally recorded in English by Alexander Cunningham, a British Army engineer who became the first Director General of the ASI in 1871. The place is often described as an exquisite example of different religions coexisting in one location. But to understand whether Sirpur is eligible for the UNESCO World Heritage status and what all is being done in order to make the village more tourist-friendly, we are joined by the Indian Express's Jayprakash S. Naidu, who reported on this for the paper. Jayprakash, first tell us a bit about Sirpur. What are some examples of its multi-religious character that we see there?
Yeah, so excavations here have revealed remains dating back to 5th century up till 12th century. These remains, they belong to multiple religions like Hinduism, Buddhism and Jainism. So one of the most remarkable features about Sirpur, it's his religious diversity. Excavations here have revealed 22 Shiva temples, 5 Vishnu temples, 10 Buddhist viharas and 3 Jain viharas. These are all in one place. Viharas are monasteries. So this coexistence of 3 religions, it's a powerful testimony of religious tolerance and cross-cultural interaction in early medieval India. So there is this Lakshmana temple which is dedicated to Vishnu. It is said to be one of the finest brick temples in India, which was built back in the 7th century. Then there is this Surang temple complex which is built on a terrace and it has multiple ancient shrines. So back in the 7th century, Sirpur was a town and it was a dynastic capital of Dakshina Kosala region. This was under the Panduvanshi dynasty and then later under the Somvamshi kings in the 9th century. And not just a religious site, it was also a commercial hub back then.
And Jayprakash, since the ASI wants this place to become a UNESCO World Heritage Site, can you tell us what makes a site eligible for that?
Yes, so there are several requirements, but the core requirement for getting a nomination is the site must have outstanding universal value. As I mentioned above, Sirpur is a multi-religious urban center and it's a fine example of religious diversity and tolerance. Then its beautiful architecture, its authenticity, as in no relocation of monuments, then its originality, as in the use of bricks, stones and lime, and then the cultural landscape of Sirpur. It is located along the Mahanadi river, which fits the UNESCO's concept of combined works of nature and humankind, which enhances the site's value.
And if we talk about the tag of a UNESCO World Heritage Site, what significance does that have? How can we see it benefiting a place like Sirpur?
So it is a long road ahead, but if Sirpur succeeds in getting the UNESCO World Heritage Site tag, then it will be the first World Heritage Site in Chhattisgarh. And because of this, Sirpur will get a worldwide recognition and this will boost the tourism sector. The transport here will get better. This will also in turn help to generate some local employment and this way it will shape the overall economy in the area.
But if we talk about the current situation, what are the issues that the tourists face when they visit Sirpur and how does the government plan on solving these issues?
So at present, tourists have to navigate through scattered village tracks and unstructured routes to access the clusters and monuments, and which can take nearly up to 3 hours or sometime even an entire day. So Chhattisgarh government plans to cut this down by say 1 hour, and they are making pathways, primary pathways and secondary pathways. So these pathways will also allow the use of small battery operated vehicles to make it more comfortable for the visitors.
And Jayprakash, given that the ASI has been inspecting the village, does it have any plans to make it more suitable for nomination as a UNESCO World Heritage Site?
So for unified management, the ASI has asked for 30 acres of state government land in and around the site. And once they get this land, they will be able to do some more excavation activities. So this includes land adjoining major monuments, approach corridors, proposed pathway routes, buffer zones of excavated remains, and open tracks needed for heritage management infrastructure. So further, this identified mounds and areas of archaeological potential will be surveyed by ASI for further excavations.
And what kind of developments can we expect to happen going forward?
Yes, so a lot of things are being planned. One is a state-of-the-art interpretation center with digital exhibits, 3D reconstructions and immersive storytelling modules to showcase Sirpur's Buddhist, Shiva and royal history. Then there will be trilingual signages for each monument. This will be in English, Hindi and Chhattisgarhi. There will be QR-based digital information panels for self-guided tours, thematic trail markers linking the 4 clusters. Keeping the ecotourism in mind, there will be eco-friendly lawns, gardens, and tree-lined avenues will be developed. They will also be promoting local art forms, crafts and cultural performances. Every year, for 7 days, they will be celebrating the World Heritage Week. Then there will be guided tour services, heritage walks, student engagement programs, archaeological awareness camps and workshops. They will be having these designated photo points, cultural interpretation nodes and curated viewpoints, to make it more tourist friendly. They are planning to have, rest areas, drinking water points, shelter, sitting bays. So these all things are being planned right now.
Right. So Jayprakash, when will work on these developments begin? And what do we know about the timeline of the UNESCO nomination?
Yeah, so the work for the pathways has begun. A joint inspection was also done by the state government and the ASI. So there seems to be a consensus between the state government and the central government that Sirpur has the potential for becoming a World Heritage Site. But first, the government will have to make a detailed nomination dossier and then invite an advisory mission from UNESCO to come and visit Sirpur. It's a long process, but a roadmap has been made and the work has begun.
And in the end, we talk about a controversial order concerning the 6th of December, which marks the anniversary of the Babri Masjid demolition. On Saturday, Rajasthan's Director of Secondary Education, Sitaram Jat, circulated guidelines instructing schools to hold a series of educational and cultural activities on the 6th of this month to celebrate Shaurya Diwas. The The direction came from Education and Panchayati Raj Minister Madan Dilawar. The Indian Express's Parul Kulshresht reported that the order asked schools to plan activities meant to promote patriotism, nationalism, bravery, cultural pride, and national unity among students and staff. However, the state's education department pulled the order just 12 hours after it was issued. In a statement, Dilawar said that with the exams scheduled on 5th and 6th December, it wouldn't be possible for schools to conduct additional events and therefore the Shaurya Diwas celebrations would be postponed. Parul, however, does point out that the minister defended the intent behind celebrating the day. He said that Lord Ram represents the ideals of Indian culture and that the Ram Mandir movement reflects cultural pride. According to him, learning about the Ram Janmabhoomi movement would encourage students and instill a sense of patriotism and national unity. As part of the proposed celebrations, schools were asked to conduct speech and essay competitions on Indian culture and the Ram Temple movement, painting and poster-making activities, patriotic song presentations, folk dance performances, and short plays based on mythological episodes. Exhibitions displaying photographs, articles, and artifacts related to Ram Janmabhoomi movement were also proposed. The circular further instructed schools to organize group Surya Namaskar sessions, yoga practice, and a special prayer assembly beginning with hymns and arti dedicated to Lord Ram. It noted that Shaurya Yatras and awareness marches could be held within school premises and suggested inviting military personnel, social workers, and history enthusiasts to interact with students. Now, Madan Dilawar has issued several controversial statements and directives since taking office as Education Minister. Among them was his order making Vande Mataram compulsory in all schools, including madrasas, which drew criticism from minority groups who called it an imposition. He has also repeatedly called Mughal ruler Akbar a tyrant and accused the previous Congress government of glorifying him. You were listening to 3 Things by the Indian Express. Today's episode was edited and mixed by Suresh Pawar and produced by Ichha Sharma, Shashank Bhargav, and me, Niharika Nanda. If you like the show, then do subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts. You can also recommend the show to someone you think will like it. Share it with a friend or someone in your family. It's the best way for people to get to know about us. You can also tweet us at Express Podcast and write to us at podcasts@indianexpress.com.